I'm gonna give you the TLDR. I was 17. I moved out with my boyfriend at the time, now ex, into a co-ed student house. Long story short, our relationship was mentally draining, which ultimately led to the downfall of it. He moved out. I blocked him. Someone who was there in my life for 5 years was now gone. Before all of this, a certain virus took over the world, leaving people no choice but to take precautions in order to enter school. This drove wedges between people, even family members. Holidays passed since I last spoke to my parents. And before that, the friendships in my life were entirely one-sided. Secret animosity from the ones I believed in grew more potent as every guy I liked somehow was in the DMs of my best friend. That, among being the butt of every joke, and being judged for having certain interests, made for a friendship that was long overdue. I said goodbye to them. I haven't seen them since high school. So here I am, still freshly moved out, heavily reliant on my partner before the breakup, not entirely sure of her identity or how to be independent, always had a knack for asking others for help, left with nothing but a grocery buggy and the worst heartbreak of her life, dug herself into a financial hole and ate everything in sight until she couldn't breathe. What does she do? How does she get out? What does she learn?
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This is Kawaii, and today I'm just going to be talking about the 10 things that I learned while being alone. So what does it mean to be alone? I guess basically in my experience it was during the time that I was going through a lot. I didn't talk to my parents. I just got out of a really toxic relationship. I had lost all my friends because I realized that those friendships no longer were serving me in my life, and I had just moved to a new town, so I didn't know anybody yet. I also think I felt very isolated in my program too, because a lot of the people, because it's a teaching program, a lot of people have those interconnections, and a lot of people who are teachers had parents that were teachers and grandparents that were teachers. It's a whole, it's a whole thing. And your girl did not come from that, okay? I didn't have those connections or anything like that, or the wealth, or the experiences. In a way, I definitely don't recommend going through the stuff that I went through, but at the same time, there are a lot of things that I took from that time. A lot of life lessons that I'm sure would come across for anybody, but I felt like they were just kind of shoved into my face. Maybe in a way I was kind of forced to, because I had to in order to survive, but I'll kind of get into that. So the first thing that I learned while being alone was building self-assurance and relying on myself. In a situation like this, you'd have to lean into your judgment and make your own decision about everything, because in all seriousness, the only person keeping you alive is you. And I feel like you build a lot of self-reliance by completing a lot of tasks by yourself. This is doing things like getting groceries on my own, especially because I don't have a car. I had to take a buggy with me, going to doctor's appointments alone, going through tough times alone, and figuring out life on my own, especially, being, at the time I was 17 turning 18, and then 18 turning 19 was when, I was basically moved out at that point, and I was learning how to basically become an adult, and I didn't really have anyone to guide me, kind of just like myself. I feel like my nose looks so shiny because of the highlight. Let me just... No, actually, seriously though, when you are alone, no one's gonna cook for you. No one's gonna make you a financial plan. No one's gonna get you out of bed in the morning to go to work. All of that stuff you gotta do by yourself. At the time, I was working around 8 to 15 hours a week, and if you live anywhere in Ontario, or anywhere, really period, it's basically impossible to live on an income like that. Except at the time, the only person who was gonna help me make that work was myself. And at the time, I was basically working 8 to 15 hours a week, plus being on top of school, and I couldn't take up any more hours, but your girl, making that work to pay for both rent and groceries and phone bill and other bills and other payments, I feel like when you're alone and you have no one else to rely on, you have to make it possible. Because if I didn't, I would have ended up homeless. At the time, I would say my rent at the time was $525, and I was making probably $500 per paycheck. And I remember the way I did it was my first payment, because I got paid twice a month, my first payment was going towards groceries, phone bills, all the other payments, automatic payments, things like that, stuff like Premiere Pro, because I wanted to do YouTube at the time. And then my second half, first part of my pay, obviously 25 would be part of that, but then the other 500 I would make would go to my rent. Especially because I didn't have any backup money either, because, I blew through all of it, alright? I was, severely depressed at the time, and do I regret doing it? Yes, but also at the same time I don't, because I know at the time that's what I needed, and I do I have other videos regarding that story, but continuing. Along the lines of that, the second thing that I learned is that no one is going to save you except for yourself. A lot of people see you struggle and they'll take note of it and they'll probably feel bad a little bit, but no one would really go out of their way to help me, or even if I did ask, which also at the same time I'm really bad at that. I didn't want to ask for help, because what I'm gonna do, ask my random coworker, hey, can you help me get groceries? And some people are nice enough to, but I feel our society, especially Canada and America, we live in such a like every man for himself, or like survival of the fittest mentality kind of society, that asking for help is kind of like weird, you know? Especially like I'm a 5'2" girl, okay? Imagine me going up to a stranger on the street, or like my coworker. Like at the time, like I said, I was new to the city. I didn't know anybody. Like asking someone for help like that, like you don't know who to trust. And it's kind of saddening because as a kid, you know, you get taught like in fairy tales, like everyone's willing to help you and everyone's a community and everybody's so bloody-da cheerful. And then you get to real life and then you realize that not everyone has the heart to go out of their way to help you either. Like some people can afford to, but not everyone will want to. And that being said, it doesn't mean that good people don't exist. Like there are 100% good people out there. I just mean, especially with our day and age as well, like even if somebody does want to help you, like financially, a lot of us are in our 20s, like people in my generation, a lot of us are in our 20s, and a lot of us are struggling. Like so many of us are struggling. Like it's not just one person, it's not just, you know, like it's everyone collectively struggling. So like how can we help each other even if we wanted to? I remember also there was like this one night, I've worked at 3 different stores now. I've been at McDonald's for like 6 years. Actually it might be 7 now. Oh my god, I've been there way too long. One of the stores I worked at, I was new and I decided I'm gonna try to make friends, okay? Because like this one guy, he invited me out to go to the movies with him and a bunch of the other coworkers because they were gonna go see like a Marvel movie. And did I know anything about Marvel? No. But like I wanted to make friends, so I was like, you know what, I'll go, why not? Little did I know that they brought a little bit of grass, alright, let's just say that. And at the time I wasn't very experienced either, but I was like, you know what, why not? Like I want to fit in, blah blah blah. Like, you know, they didn't peer pressure me or anything. Like I've dabbled before. I was just like, why not, you know? This was actually when I learned what my limit was, and let me just say, the first time you find out your limit is never gonna be easy. So anyways, I went to the movie and I remember I did not remember a thing about the movie except for the fact that I thought Thor was an absolute and like I remember like by the time I got home after, like I was completely gone, okay? I did not know where I was. Like the second the door shut after I said goodbye to my coworkers, I went to the bathroom and I puked. I just like threw all my guts up, okay? And in that moment I realized that no one is here to help me. Like because at the time I didn't have friends either, okay? I didn't have like solid friends I could like rely on. Like I had the coworkers I hung out with, but I didn't know anybody realistically. So like no one is gonna help you in this situation other than you. Like that was the realization where I needed to be more careful. Like I realized that I am the only thing keeping me alive right now. Like genuinely the only person in my life that is here to keep me alive. Like yes, I have my sister, but she lives somewhere else. And at the time I didn't know her to the extent that I know her now, let's just say that. I feel like we grew a lot closer as adults than we did when we were younger, but at the time I didn't know my sister that well, so yeah, like realistically the only person in my life that was gonna keep me alive was myself. And especially because I just got out of a relationship too. Like in other situations when we were living together, there would have been somebody there to like make sure I was okay, but you know, at the time there's just me. Like it's just me. So the third thing that I learned while being alone is actually a quote. It's too little freedom is captivity, but too much freedom is chaos. It's by Amit Kalantri. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I really hope I am. But basically, I grew up pretty sheltered my whole life. Like, I didn't really go out much. Besides, like, in the town that I lived in, there wasn't really much to do anyways. And, like, my parents were very protective of, like, making sure their kids were, like, safe and all that. So, like, any school trips, like, one, financially, it just wasn't plausible. And two, they were just really protective that, like, I just wasn't able to go. We also never really traveled either. Like we've only ever traveled to the US and that was like by drive. Like I've never actually been, I don't even have a passport, bro. Like I need to do that soon. I feel like I definitely developed a fear of going outside. Like I genuinely, for the longest time I was scared of even going to the grocery store. It was bad. Also growing up, my parents valued giving us a good childhood, like the type of childhood that they never got. So there wasn't many like responsibilities or like chores thrown on us, which as a kid, I am definitely super, super grateful. Like, I enjoy my life to a T. And I also had so much time to do both work and make money, and also time to study and do really well in school. But as an adult, it sometimes, you know, it was definitely a very big challenge for me to go from absolutely having no responsibilities around the house to having to do everything by myself. And when you're alone, no one's gonna be there to tell you, hey, like, do your dishes, like, hey, clean your room, hey, do your laundry, hey, make sure you get rid of the mold in the bathroom, hey, take out the garbages, hey, oh my god, the raccoon's gone into the garbage, do something about it. Like, no one's gonna be there to help you. Like, yeah, I have roommates and stuff, but at the time, when I was living at my old place, I lived with, like, these 3 men. Like, okay, I went against my landlord on this. My landlord asked if I was okay with living with 3 guys, like if I'm comfortable with it, and I said no. They still signed the lease anyways. So I was living on this floor and there was like 3 other guys in the other room, so like I didn't talk to them really at all, because like at the same time they didn't speak English much around me, so I didn't really bother getting to know them, I guess. Also, like, I don't know, like there's just like a barrier you don't really cross when you're living with 3 guys and you're single, and you don't know them that well. Like, but yeah, another thing is I never really spent much money on stuff as a kid. Mostly just because like my parents, like I knew our financial situation. I knew that like one day maybe they would need me to help out. Like, so I always saved everything I could just in case I needed to. But when we lost contact, I think I kind of just like forgot all of that, because honestly, I had no clue if I was gonna talk to them again. Like, I do talk to them now and we're good. Like, everything's peachy keen, okay? Like, we worked it out. But at the time, like, I had no clue if we would talk ever again. For me, it was like my whole life changed, okay? My whole life trajectory, everything I knew in life was just different. Suddenly, I had all the freedom in the world. I could go on a walk without telling anyone. I could just order food if I didn't feel like cooking. I could just go out places and not have a curfew. I wouldn't have to be back by a certain time because the only person worrying about that was me. I had basically full control over everything in my life. And there's no pressure to absolutely have to get something done if I didn't want to. Like, unless it was school or work, but in terms of whatever happens in the house and in my life, like, I had full control over that. That said, when someone has 100% freedom, and keep in mind, I'm talking about this situation in which during this time I wasn't in school, okay, it was summer. When you only have to go to work and the rest of the time you have whatever time to yourself. When you have 100% freedom, like the quote says, too much freedom can lead to chaos. You end up embracing freedom to its full capacity. And I feel like I neglected so much in my life. Every day after work, I would just spend like hours on end, like up to 8 hours, like staying up all night, just gaming and watching YouTube and watching Netflix and just being depressed. I got to go to bed whenever I wanted to, so my sleep schedule was literally non-existent. And my room was a mess like 24/7. Like, I never bothered cleaning. I also never bothered cooking. I literally spent probably over $5,000 in 1 year on DoorDash alone. And keep in mind, at the time, I had like 10,000 in my savings because I saved up so much from school, and I didn't really like, I literally spent all this time working and I never bothered buying the things I wanted in life. So like the second I like had that freedom, I think I wanted to just spend money on whatever I wanted because I could, like I simply could. So I guess because I was like saving my entire childhood, I just wanted to enjoy the luxuries in my life that I watched other kids have, but then I couldn't have. The fourth thing that you would probably learn while being alone is that you learn to value good company over any company. When you spend so much time alone, you learn how to enjoy your own company. Although I definitely think being in isolation for so long definitely drove me insane a little bit. And humans are very social beings, and when we don't have human interaction, like real good human interaction, valuable ones, life just starts to feel like one of those long fever dreams of dissociation. So like, even if I wanted to make friends, I couldn't bring myself to actually put myself out there, okay? Because every day I would just go into school, I would put my earbuds in, I would go into school, disassociate, because I was also in a program that I felt like I wasn't even sure I wanted to be in. I would literally just dissociate or nap throughout the entire class, and then I would leave and go back home. And then I would game for hours. Like, I wasn't participating in society for so long, and when you're doing that and you already don't have people in your life, trying to put yourself out there is the hardest thing in the planet, like, I swear. And I'm sure a lot of that was definitely due to the fact that I was in isolation from my family. I had just gotten out of a relationship with a narcissist who was gay, by the way. So as you can tell, there's not a lot of people I could really talk to about that, because like, what would you say to someone if they said that they went through a breakup? Oh, why'd you guys break up? Because he's gay. But yeah, I remember there was times where I did try to make friends at my workplace. There was these like 3 girls that I tried to befriend, but when you realize quickly that when people already have like their solid friendship groups or like their solid cliques or whatever, like they're not really willing to budge or like add new additions to their groups, you know? Some might, but like a lot of them are very content with the way things are, and people don't like change, right? So, and one of the 3 girls actually, like, she was nice to me, but then slowly I realized that the only reason she was nice to me was only ever if like the 2 girls in the group of 3 was kind of isolating the other girl, and B, if this girl needed me to help her meet up with a guy. Because then other than that, I would not hear a peep from her, okay? She would not talk to me at all. I would message her, and then she would leave me on red for like days, or like deliver not for days, and I was kind of like, you know what, friendships are two-sided. It just doesn't seem like she wants to really be friends. I feel like when you're alone, you get comfortable with it. It feels hard at first, but you eventually get comfortable with it. And once you're ready to like add people into your life, unless they're adding more value to your life, you might as well just stay in isolation. Number 5 of the things that you learn while being alone is you stop sweating the little stuff and you stop caring so much about what other people think. I feel like you kind of gain a sense of humility as well. Like, there were times where it was either I could prioritize becoming like looking the way social norms want me to look, which is like, I don't even understand. Okay, see, the one thing I don't understand, how do people go to school or how do people go to work and they have these tiny little backpacks, okay? They have the tiniest backpacks, and they're going to school. You know, like, it looks cute, don't get me wrong, but also, how do you carry your textbooks? How do you carry your books? Like genuine question. Because I you know, I want to look cute too, okay? But also, it was either look cute and not bring all my stuff, or bring all the stuff I need and be practical, because, you know, your girl was freaking walking 15 minutes just to get to the bus stop. Also, like, I walked to and from work because my workplace was about like a 15-minute walk, so I was like, there's no point in me like spending money on a bus when I could just walk. So in the winter, when I had to do all these treks, okay, I would have to bundle up. Like, it was either bundle up and look like an abominable yeti, and look kind of stupid, honestly, and not get frostbite and not get sick, or like conform to social norms and look cute but didn't get sick, you know? And your girl did not have time to get sick, okay? Like, I was in survival mode. I was by myself. I had to do everything, okay? So I had to cook, clean, I had to do everything. There's no one who's gonna make me soup other than myself. There's no one who's gonna take care of me when I'm sick but myself. There's no one I can call up and be like, hey, can you take me to a hospital, because that's the stuff I gotta do all on my own. And when you gotta do all this stuff on your own, you learn to prioritize survival over looking good. I don't have a car, okay? I didn't have a car at the time either, and I would have to, in order to get groceries, okay, because I didn't have anybody in my life that had a car, really didn't have anybody, period, but whenever I did need to get groceries, thank God I lived near a Walmart, okay? So I would have to take my buggy, and I would roll this, like, I bought this buggy, I'll show you guys, like, on the screen, but I had this buggy that I would take to bring my groceries, and I would have to go weekly, okay, because this thing can only hold so much, and my backpack can only hold so much. Every time I got groceries, it was like every Sunday, and I would just take this buggy with me, and I would, like, whatever I needed, I would just like bring in that buggy, and then I would take home. Did I feel stupid? Did I feel like one of those old people, you know, roaming the streets? Yeah, but also it was kind of fun, because I remember one time I was bringing my buggy, okay, I was living my life, okay, and then this other old lady with a buggy walks by, and then we just smiled at each other like, I get you, you know? And now, like, I couldn't care less about what people think, because the more you do it, the more you realize people don't actually care. People don't, especially when they're strangers, people don't actually care what you're doing with your life. Everyone's so preoccupied with what they're doing with their life that no one's gonna notice that you're bringing a buggy. They might look at it for 2 seconds, but they're gonna go back on their phone and scroll through Instagram. Like, they do not care. They might see you dressed like you're visiting Antarctica, but at least you're warm, okay? They're gonna be like, I wish I did that, because it's freezing out, okay? I live in Canada. You wouldn't, if you live in Canada, you're gonna know. Oh my god, it's terrible. Number 6, you gain appreciation for everything that you do have in life, even if it's not a lot. For example, like how my parents gifted me a hairdryer. Like, at the time, as a kid, I was definitely like really peeved, because I'm like, all these other kids get PS4s, all the other kids get blah blah blah, and I got a hairdryer. But like, that hairdryer still functions. I used it for like probably 8 years since I bought it, and I was able to take it with me, and like, oh my god, let me just say, I was thankful. I might not have been thankful then, but let me just say, when that heater at my old place broke and my hair was freezing to death and I could just blow dry it dry, let me just say, that's when the thankfulness started coming. You basically just start counting every little blessing in your life. Honestly, if you were to do the opposite, there's no surviving. Like, I could have easily given up and just like been mad at life and been angry at all the things that have happened to me, and basically just lived a life full of resentment and regret, and basically like dug myself into my own grave more than I had been. But yeah, being in survival mode doesn't really give you a choice to wallow and be sad. Like, it's either act now or suffer the consequences and go homeless, basically. Number 7, I gotta do 2 hands now. You will gain an insane amount of awareness for who has privilege and who doesn't. I feel like if you're in this situation, you'll notice people more. You'll notice people on the bus. You'll notice people who are in the same situation as you. People who are also bringing buggies. People who don't have anyone else to help you with the grocery bags. Because let me just say, no one was gonna help me bring my groceries home, just me. But over time, yeah, I started observing people more. I started observing people, especially during the holidays, like the kinds of things they would post. Especially people who post, like, you know, those mountains of gifts under trees, or people who post, like, the big Christmas feast we're having, or like the kinds of vacations we're all going on as a family or with my boyfriend. Or you really gain an understanding of how different people's lives are. Like, all the people I went to high school with, we all had the luxury of having the same education. But after that, I slowly realized who has good families, who doesn't, who can even see their families, who doesn't even know their families, who has their families, who has one parent, who gets to spend time with their loved ones on Christmas, and who doesn't even get to celebrate with anyone, period. It also makes you realize how unaware people are, that not everyone has the same situation as you. Like, there are people I went to school with, and they would post about how, like, oh, their parents gifted them tickets to Scotland, or how they had 50 presents under the tree, or how big a feast was on the table. Like, why do we do this stuff? Like, why? Like, is this some big, like, I feel like it's all just bragging. It's literally all just bragging rights. But it's like, why are we trying to make other people feel bad about themselves? Like, why are we trying to make people feel like, oh, we have it best? Like, no, you don't have it best. I have it best. I have the best meal. You don't have the best meal. I have more presents. You don't. Like, why? What is the point? Like, if we're all trying to prove that we have the best things in life, or we have the most luxurious opportunities, then aren't we all in the same boat of just trying to appease to the greater society? The main point is there's a divide, and that divide becomes way more noticeable when you're kind of at the lower half of the divide. Number 8 is you have to learn about yourself, because either you're gonna spend all this time with yourself and you're gonna realize, you know what, I actually don't mind spending time with myself, or you're gonna do what I did and you're gonna spend time with yourself and realize how much of yourself you actually don't like. At the end of it, you either have to find a way to tolerate yourself or you have to be a better person. Not everyone's gonna become a better person. A lot of people will just tolerate themselves, but I wanted to live a life where I knew no matter what I did, I knew I was doing the most morally just thing I could do in life. That said, spending a lot of time with yourself makes you notice things about yourself way more. Like how my mood impacts my logical thinking, or how impulsive I can be when making decisions when I'm emotionally heightened. This could be being impulsive with money, maybe with meeting people, maybe going on dates. Eventually you realize that you're either the type of person you want to be or you're everything you want to avoid. And I remember I did so much deep thinking about myself, and I kind of plucked out all the little traits about myself that I just like did not want to have anymore. Especially, like, I met this one girl, okay, and her vibe screamed absolutely toxicity city over here. The thing is, the more I got to know her, the more I realized her thought patterns and her thinking processes were very eerily similar to my own. And then that's when I took a look at myself and I was like, maybe I am toxic. It's a hard thing to admit, okay? Like, nobody wants to be labeled toxic. Nobody wants to be labeled the unjust person, okay? But sometimes in order to change yourself and to not become everything you don't want to be, you have to admit it first. And that is the hardest part, is admitting it. But because I was in survival mode, I had no choice but to become a better person. Because if I kept being impulsive, if I kept making bad decisions with money, if I kept door dashing and feeding into my own insecurities by like overeating, because at the time I didn't like that I was fatter, I had gained 30 pounds just in that time alone. Because before that, I was aware that I was digging myself into holes, but I was just kind of watching it happen. And all my actions and reactions were very unwise at the time, and honestly really childish. And if I had let it go any longer, I probably would have ended up homeless. Number 9 of things you learn when you're alone is you gain an unbreakable amount of resilience. There were so many times where I wanted to give up, but then I absolutely couldn't. Especially, like, not even just like metaphorically, like literally speaking, when I was carrying heavy groceries home, okay, there were so many times where I just wanted to give up and I just wanted to lie on the floor. But realistically, could I do that? No, I'm not gonna lie on the street with my groceries. Like, I had to make it home somehow, especially when it's cold out. It's either, keep going, like you're exhausted but keep going because you don't want frostbite, or literally just stay on the cold any longer and you'll probably freeze to death. And arguably you could say just like Uber home with your groceries, but girl, when you are financially like cooked, I guess, you don't have that option. You're gonna go for the cheapest option because that's all you can really afford to do, right? And don't get me wrong, it's not like I was a power force just constantly never ever giving up. Like, it was really hard, especially with going through all the stuff I was going through. Like, I had a lot of burnout, okay? Like, there's a lot of things that I had to give up just to, do other things. Like, I skipped school a lot. I skipped school so much just to get stuff done. With that said though, you can't give up entirely, okay? Because if you give up entirely, that means your life, okay? When it is life or death, like, I'm saying it like as if it's so dramatic, but it kind of is, really. Because going homeless is, to me, like, that's basically the equivalent of death, because, like, you don't have a home. You can't afford to have a home. And, like, to have a job, like, where are you gonna shower? Where are you gonna pick up a job and work? Like, how are you gonna, like, where are you gonna keep everything, Like, I have so many belongings here. Like, I don't know if you guys can see it now, but, like, I have accumulated so much since then. And if I were to lose all that now, like, I don't genuinely, like, if I were to lose this place, like, if I were to lose, not unable to pay rent, which there have been times where I'm like literally this close to not being able to pay rent, like, where would I put it? Like, I could sell it, yeah, but if, like, let's say you got evicted, like, that's why I feel so bad for homeless people. Like, I know there's so many, see, that's the thing, there's so many, like, assumptions that anyone who's homeless, every single person who's homeless is doing drugs or doing unhealthy habits. But realistically, the only reason they're doing that is because how else do you think you're gonna survive out in the cold? How else do you think you're gonna survive getting through tough times like that? Like, I don't blame them. Like, I'm not saying that they should keep doing it, but even if, let's say, they do get a job, like, where are they gonna put their stuff? Where are they gonna keep their clothes, I feel like getting out of homelessness is so much harder than getting into it. Just like it is to climb social classes, okay? Like, it's not like you just, like, it's possible, yes, but oh my god, nobody talks about how hard it is. Anyways, I got a little bit off topic, so bottom line is you need to find that willpower to keep going in order to survive, and in order for that to happen, you build resilience. Okay, the last thing, number 10, is resourcefulness, which is along the lines kind of similar to resilience, but more in the aspect regarding to you have to work with what you got. Okay, there were times where I could not afford to have more than just shampoo, so I would be shampooing, I would be washing my body with shampoo, I would be doing everything with shampoo, okay? Because it's either that or don't eat. And you know, you have to make, that's the thing, is like you literally learn the sacrifices you have to make. Like you literally have to work with what you got. There were times where, this is like a little life hack of mine, I couldn't afford to keep buying water bottles, so whenever I went to like my school, they had water fountains, I would just like fill up my reusable ones, and that would be like my water stock for the week. Also being creative with your groceries, okay? There's so many weird grocery combinations that I had that were definitely flops, but like I needed to eat something. Like there was this one time where I had frozen corn and rice and meatballs, and that's what I ate. I had seasoning too, don't worry, but like I literally ate rice, meatballs, and corn, and I thought it would be good at the time, but it really didn't hit. Also, if you work in fast food, you know eventually, like after working so long, your shoes will start to like flop up like that, like the sole will start to come off. Sure, I could go buy another pair of shoes for $40, but like I also kind of need to buy groceries, so you know, sometimes you'd be gluing your shoe shut until you can like save up enough, like $5 at a time or whatever, to save up for the shoes. That is also part of resourcefulness, okay? Literally, you have to be so smart with your money, okay? Like you might, let's say you have $5 now, like let's say you get paid like $200 a month, okay, and you need to save up to buy something that's $100, but you need that $200 like literally to spend. But maybe you start by saving $5, and then you save $5 again, and then eventually blah blah blah, like it all builds on, you know. And that's the problem too, is that also things take time. I feel like that's also part of it, as I feel like even now, sure, you finally paid off that one thing, but then something else happens. And then something else happens, like your toaster breaks, your phone charger breaks, or your phone stops working entirely, and then you gotta buy a new one, or then you gotta pay for your wisdom teeth, and then OMG, I forgot the down payments are a thing. Definitely not talking about my own situation. Like I would definitely describe my life as not in isolation anymore. Like I have good people in my life. Like I talk to my parents, I have my sister in my life, I have my cousins, I have my friends, okay? I have an amazing boyfriend. Now that I do have that community, I definitely look back and think like, wow, I can't believe I did all that stuff by myself, because I have people in my life who are literally willing to drive 40 minutes just to help me out. And I could not be more thankful for those people. I'm not gonna cry. Shut up, guys. I'm trying not to cry. You're crying. I'm not crying. No, but like seriously though, like I am so thankful for everything I have in my life. I'm so thankful for the abundance in my life, even if it's just a little bit at a time. I'm so thankful for the people in my life, the job that I have, the raise that I got, everything. Like I am so thankful for things the way they worked out. See, like I said, there's that gratefulness that kicks in. Even now that things have changed, I definitely think those things still stick with me. And even if I make $5, even if I make $1 million, I'm still gonna have those same moral, I want to say abilities, because realistically I feel like some people don't have the ability to feel certain things. See, I also like to romanticize things. For those of you guys would know, I like to romanticize like literally everything. So it's like even if something's like really bad, I genuinely like to see the good in it, you know? Especially after it happens. Like at the time, don't get me wrong, it's so hard to see the good when things are just absolutely ballistic, but when things are kind of calmed down, you kind of go, you know what? There's a reason that happened. Anyways, I've been yapping way too long, so I'm gonna end the video now. But if you guys learned something new today, please give this video a like. I'm trying to aim my channel into more of like self-care stuff, so if you like that kind of content, subscribe and turn on the bell notifications so you guys can see every time I upload something like that, and also help the community grow. Actually, speaking of, should I call you guys Yeetlings, or should I call you guys like the Kawarmi? I don't know what's better, so either vote Kawarmi or Yeetlings. Because I want to call you guys something, you know? Like, now that there's 1,000 of us here, you know? I want to find something, some kind of name, you know? Anyways, I'm gonna go edit, so this has been Kawa Yeet, and I'm gonna yeet out. Bye-bye! Bye.